Huge. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. To my super chat. I can't do this without you. Your super chat support is greatly appreciated. Let's get to the potential for the federal government, the Congress, which has the power of the purse. And hit subscribe. Your super chat greatly appreciated. The power of the purse to cut the funding of federal judges. Over 600 federal judges in 90 regions of the country. You can't overstep your boundaries. If you want to issue an injunction, it should be within the jurisdiction of the court, not nationwide. Even AOC and Ron Wyden and other Democrats were saying the exact same thing 2 years ago. Hit subscribe. Let's get started.
Good afternoon to you. A couple that I want to fire at you first, and then we'll get to a few issues here. What is the legal question before this appellate panel?
Sure. The legal question before this appellate panel is whether or not the president acted within his constitutional authority when he removed these individuals without giving, a hearing, a notice to them before removing them from the country. So they're basically going to determine the boundaries of the president's power to execute the immigration laws of the United States.
Okay, second question. Does it matter if the order was written or oral Friday a week and a half ago, Saturday morning that followed when these planes were apparently leaving?
I don't think it does. I mean, look, if a judge gives you an order from the bench, if he speaks it, it usually carries the same force as if it's something he wrote. But that doesn't necessarily answer the question as to whether or not the Trump administration violated the order. And they've been adamant. They said that they fully complied with the order. And that's something that Judge Boasberg himself is looking into right now. And I suspect the Court of Appeals will also take a look at that question.
Does it matter if they're U.S. citizens? Because they weren't.
Well, it does matter in the sense that the power that the president is asserting here, the Alien Enemies Act, applies to non-citizens who are in the United States that the president is removing because they are connected with a hostile power. And if they are citizens of the United States, you can't invoke that act. So the fact that they are non-citizens mean, yes, they are going to get a lot less due process in something like this than a citizen of the United States.
This whole issue of due process, something that we got to hang on so we can understand it. Chuck Schumer was on NBC. Here we go with Kristen Welker, and it went this way, Tom.
Do you agree, is the United States in a constitutional crisis?
Yes, I do, Kristen, and democracy is at risk. Look, Donald Trump is a lawless, angry man. He thinks he should be king. He thinks he should do whatever he wants, regardless of the law. And he thinks judges should just listen to him.
Heard a couple.
As long as Democrats engage in this absurd, hyperbolic ranting and raving, they're never going to win another presidential contest. They might even lose the midterms. The Democratic Party is in such turmoil. They now gravitate around symbols. They have this liberal Pavlovian response to politics. It's this theology. It's a cult-like, apoplectic, hysterical obsession with a very warped view of morality. They think now Tesla is immoral because, oh my God, God forbid, Elon Musk is finding fraud and waste and corruption within federal government spending. So they're told to dislike Elon Musk, whereas before they loved Elon Musk. So, I mean, it's like, and then Trump won the popular vote, but he's a lawless president who's going to devour democracy. These are absurd, outlandish, stupid statements. And it only resonates to a small, rabid base of liberal Democrats who disown friends and family. The average American, this doesn't resonate with. But anyway, let's continue.
Couple things in there. Constitutional crisis, democracy at risk. Kind of felt like it was 2017 all over again, Tom.
Yeah, Bill, I do not agree with Senator Schumer. And look, the fact is what is going on right now in the D.C. circuit is a constitutional argument, a constitutional battle, a constitutional showdown. But I don't think it approaches the realm of a constitutional crisis. The D.C. circuit is getting, frankly, to one of the fundamental questions under our Constitution, which is how broad are the president's powers under Article 2? I think most lawyers, most reasonable lawyers, would say they're quite broad. Does that mean that judges have zero role to play? Maybe, maybe not. But that's what the Court of Appeals is deciding, and we're certainly not at a constitutional crisis.
Why hasn't this issue been taken to the U.S. Supreme Court until now?
Because this is a statute that is rarely invoked. The last time that a president invoked it was back in wartime. And
also because President Trump has the popular vote, the House, the Senate, every battleground state, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court. He's signing a great many executive orders because Congress is not capable of doing what it should do. So he is, within his power, within his scope of authority, and within the executive branch authorities of the Constitution, signing executive orders. Now, he can do these things. He can also enforce immigration laws. He can also decide on foreign policy within the powers of the executive branch. He's allowed, that's what a president does. And so Democrats, their party is in turmoil. They just usurped another candidate of theirs. They railroaded Bernie Sanders, did not let him win in 2016. They didn't let Biden run again. Their political party is a complete farce. They don't even have functioning primaries. They might not even get the midterms. They don't believe in single payer or Medicare for all single payer, Green New Deal, none of the things that the base, or none of the things that progressives or left-leaning, like really passionate leftists really care about. It's not feasible, and the Democrats don't want that. So they're caught between a rock and a hard place. If they succumb to the furthest left of their political party, they will lose every single contest, presidential contest, even midterms. If they don't, there's zero enthusiasm. So they're pretty much politically done.
World War II, and so the courts just haven't had occasion to determine how broad a president's authority is under this law. However this gets resolved, it is going to be an important precedent. Is this going to say whether or not Trump can continue?
Let me try and ask it a different way, though, because what you're seeing on the screen.
The appeals court will probably side with the lower court judge. It'll get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will yet again give Trump a monumental victory.
Here's how many times district judges have intervened in executive orders over the past, 14, 18, 20 years. Why, based on this number, has the court not been forced to answer that question yet?
Right. Well, and that gets at the idea of judges jumping in and halting executive orders issued under any statute, not the Alien Enemies Act. And there's no question that judges are becoming far more intrusive and far more willing to enjoin presidents from exercising their authority than they've been in the past. That also may be because presidents Trump and going back to Obama and Bush have been more assertive and aggressive in claiming presidential authority.
Tom, thank you. It's not over.
Thank you, Bill.
It may not be over for some time.
Not.
Tom Dupree, nice to see you again, and thank you for your.
So if you look, the article here, can Congress defund federal courts with key budget process? And so you look, ladies and gentlemen, these courts are obviously funded by Congress. The budget reconciliation process lowers the threshold. Okay, so you go down, and it's impeaching federal judges. We'll get to, I can't find where it was there, but we'll get to Mike Johnson right now, and he'll talk about that right now.
Thank you, Leader Scalise and these other members. It's a great day, but I've got to address a couple of things with you, and I need to start with something that's pretty serious. Chuck Schumer engaged in a lot of unusual activity last week, but among the most concerning was his invitation to activists nationwide. I want to quote to you what he said on PBS and I think in other venues, but this is what he said on that particular program, quote, "We are mobilizing in New York. We have people going to the Republican districts and going after these Republicans who are voting for this and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences," unquote. It was reminiscent of the threats he made to Supreme Court justices a year and a half ago or so on the steps of the Supreme Court. It's dangerous rhetoric, and that message was received. So we had far left activists go into some of these events. They engaged in a physical altercation.
So really quickly, if you look at the funding right here, you just the funding scenarios. I think we need to look at the pros and cons. I think we need to look at funding scenarios. 51 senators can strip funding, cut funding for federal courts. I think defunding is a viable option, said Andy McCarthy, contributor. And then there's some people who disagree, but I think John Yoo is a brilliant man. He disagrees as well. But I don't know. I think that it's actually a good idea. I think that you need to, if Congress doesn't do its job, then the president, within his powers, should continue to protect the country, national security, enforce laws. It's obvious Democrats don't want to enforce laws. They did not want to enforce immigration laws. That's not hyperbole. They literally did not want to enforce a great many laws that they passed. And now they're obsessed with Tesla. For 8 years, they were obsessed with Trump. They're not actually interested in governing the country. It's a theology, a religion. It's like a religious cult. You can't drive a Tesla now. It's bad. Tesla bad. Tesla bad. So that's their, like, they've been like a bunch of like programmed artificial intelligence robots. But let's just continue.
At least one of them, Representative Lawler in New York, just hours after he made that call to action. This isn't just a problem in that state, it's a problem across the country, and we had members who are rightfully concerned about threats of physical violence at their events and in their districts. In some cases, they even went to events for their children at school. It's gotten out of hand. That behavior cannot be tolerated. It's an enhanced threat environment.
That behavior is the only thing Democrats have. They've lost politically the House, the Senate, Congress, a House of Representatives, the Senate, the executive, every battleground state, the popular vote. They lost everything. Well, what do they have? The only thing that works for them is that they despise Trump. Emotion. That's the only thing they have is emotion. And it's actually not that large, but it's a very rabid base of Democrats. The Democrats don't believe in their own policies. They don't believe in their own the laws that they pass. That's why they don't enforce certain laws. Okay? Or they try to weaken certain laws, the enforcement of certain laws to benefit politically. And it's not like they pushed an amnesty bill. They didn't. When they had the House and the Senate, they didn't. They could have done a lot of things. They could have pushed a Medicare for All bill, a single-payer health care, Green New Deal bill, amnesty bill. They lie about everything. They don't believe. The issue. I used to be a lifelong Democrat. I can tell you, the political party, if it goes further left, will implode. Because the left will finally realize, eventually, after they get railroaded and cheated for the 1,000th time, that the biggest adversary is not Trump or Musk. It's actually the Democratic Party silencing, stifling the left. Because Democrats will never allow Bernie Sanders or AOC to become president. Maybe AOC, but not like Elizabeth Warren. Well, maybe Elizabeth Warren, but definitely not Bernie Sanders. And they won't allow a left-leaning person. We already saw that with Bernie Sanders. So they're going to continue to be a political party that really doesn't stand for anything, but like latching on to very bizarre, new bizarre ideologies that they think are like this new moral arena where they have to champion. And the average American's like, what? No, No, not with women's sports, etc. But let's continue.
For a lot of reasons, and we see Tesla dealerships being firebombed and all these things happening. It cannot be encouraged by leaders in Congress. So I am calling on Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries in the House to put an end to this, to explain that threats of violence and intimidation like that is not an acceptable form of political protest. We all believe in free speech. I used to defend it in courts, but this is something very different, and it's very serious.
Hidden for time, thank you. Paul, thank you. Hidden for time, greatly appreciated. Thank you for the kind words. Paul, thank you as always. Greatly appreciated, ladies and gentlemen, for the kind words and the support. They have to start indicting not just like 3 people. They have to start really testing the bounds of free speech in terms of indicting people for pushing violence. I'm sorry. That does... Pushing chaos, violence, intimidation is not protected under free speech, under the First Amendment. It's not. And Democrats have spent their lives trying to deplatform all different voices. And their argument is, oh, that person is promoting chaos, mayhem, violence. It's like, well, look what people are doing in Tesla dealerships. Look, I mean, this obsession with Tesla is all you need to know about the cult within the Democratic Party. Do you think that, like, at any other point in American politics, a political party could say, don't drive a Ford, don't drive a Chevy, don't drive a BMW? That would never happen. It would never happen. But now this is all like, it's like this Pavlovian, reality of they get to salivate when they get this like visceral reaction when they're told to feel a certain way.
Situation, and they need to get control of that. Chuck Schumer and Congressional Democrats are feeling the heat, and they're lashing out because of it. And we saw all sorts of unusual activity over the last week.
Oh my God. You didn't miss anything. You didn't miss anything, honestly. I was just going on and on. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lordy, as the Honorable James Comey says, Lordy.
It's well chronicled. The Democrats have no vision, no message, no leader. You heard about it here today. The American people have taken note. CNN found that just 29% of the people view the Democratic Party favorably now. NBC found that the number at 27%. Quinnipiac poll over the weekend was an interesting one. Since they've been taking the poll, which goes back many years, decades, Congressional Democrats are at their lowest approval rating with their own base ever. They're 9 points underwater. What's really interesting about that, Politico did a piece on this, and they contrasted where the Democrats stand and where we stand. While they're at their lowest number of all time and they're 9 points underwater with their own base, Congressional Republicans are at our highest mark ever, and we're at plus 69 points with our own base. That's a pretty stark contrast. And I think we all know.
Thank you, Donald Trump. You think people are going to be excited about Bush and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley, the good Republicans? I'm for a good Republican. This is what the Democrats like. Trump is doing things a Republican wouldn't do. Yes, that's why he's popular. That's why he's a 2-term president. My God. He got us out of the Paris Accords. Yeah, that's why people like him. That's why he won't listen to the intel agencies. Well, that's why people like him. That's why he's anti-war. He's an anti-war president. He's a 90s liberal Democrat. Donald Trump is a 1990s liberal Democrat in terms of foreign policy. Let's say he's probably less militant, but he wants a great economy. The working class loves Trump. And it's like this hatred for President Trump or Musk, if you go to actual working class areas, they don't dislike Trump. People don't if in working class areas around this country, they don't dislike Trump. The people who dislike Trump are the very educated, highly educated, oftentimes wealthy, but highly educated individuals who are morally superior. And they don't go to Thanksgiving dinners. They disown friends and family. And they wouldn't be caught anywhere with a Trump supporter. And they're a special type of Democrat, very educated. And, they read the New York Times and the Washington Post. They were never interested in politics until 2016. And they've been indoctrinated beyond belief. And Trump and democracy and the Russians and the Teslas. And they lost the popular vote. And now at least they have the vitriol. It's like they'll always have the vitriol, they can always watch The View and vent or listen to De Niro. I don't know why, I don't do a good De Niro accent, but he's like, well, I don't understand it. Well, you're a millionaire Hollywood elite celebrity. Why would you understand? But I don't tell people not to watch De Niro movies. Go watch Casino. I love Casino and Goodfellas and The Godfather. Come on. Why would you not want to watch? It's great films. Just because he's wrong on everything politically doesn't mean I tell you not to watch him. Have you ever, even Hillary Clinton, I did a segment. I don't dislike Clinton. I don't dislike Bill or Hillary. They are who they are. They're political animals. They're hilarious. And the servers, it's for convenience. What's the problem? It's amusing. But Democrats, oh my God. I'm not going to Thanksgiving. It's more turkey for the Trumpers. More turkey for the Trumpers.
Why? Axios reported yesterday that Democrats are, quote, in their deepest hole in nearly 50 years. This is not a mystery. Everyone understands what's happening and why.
They cheated Bernie Sanders. The fake and the phonies have 3 million 2 million sub channels. It's fine. I'm happy with my channel. I'm happy with my income. It's just, I'm just a small growing, channel. I'll get to 300,000. It's fine. I am who I am. But I'm not it's interesting. People say, oh, you went from Bernie to Trump. Yes, direct line. Read my Federalist article. There's a direct line between Bernie 2016 and Trump, President Trump. Everyone in Bernie 2016 should have, about 20% of people voted for Trump. Anti-war, great for the economy, record low poverty, record highs in household median income, did not send Americans to a never-ending military conflict. Why is that so difficult for people to understand? The ignorance, the absolute unmitigated ignorance of people not to understand how you go from Bernie Sanders 2016 to Donald Trump. But again, it's like I say, it's like trying to explain quantum physics to a house cat. They're not going to understand. So they're not going to go to Thanksgiving. They're going to divorce their husbands. They're going to watch The View, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, The Daily Show. Oh my God, the high priests of morality. And they have more billionaires. They have 134 billionaires to Trump's 100. They even have more billionaires. And they're fighting the oligarchy tour. And they had a tour recently with AOC and Bernie Sanders, who was cheated, not only in 2016, also 2020 also. They stopped cheating him. It got too old. So then they just actually went after Biden and removed him. And, one of the high priests told them, what's his name? George Clooney. He wrote up an op-ed, and the loyal legions of religious Democrats who are atheists said, okay, yeah. We can't have Biden. No Biden. People saw him. We can't, it's like the Wizard of Oz. The curtain is pulled. So everyone saw he's one fry short of a Happy Meal. So then they had Harris, and then they lost everything politically. Now they're going after Tesla. They're not trying to pass a single payer or Green New Deal. Forget the planet. It's all about don't buy a Tesla. Not, oh, you should buy a Toyota electric vehicle. It should, don't buy Tesla. Buy anything, a Hummer, 10 Hummers. Buy 50 Hummers, a semi-truck, buy 10 semi-trucks. Buy a coal-powered, whatever. I don't care what you do, don't buy a Tesla. And there goes their apoplectic, maniacal obsession with the environment, which of course is important, but it was always a theology and religion anyway. They didn't believe anything. It's just like, a social club. Let's continue.
In their haste to oppose President Trump in our efforts to make government more efficient, Democrats are cutting off their noses to spite their own face. Look, I've made a list of this. They're cheering the decline of an American company which employs over 100,000 workers. They refuse to celebrate the return of stranded American astronauts because SpaceX facilitated their return.
If those astronauts were being saved by Elon Musk, they need to stay there for 10 years. We cannot have Elon Musk save anyone. Okay?
Without a hint of irony, they're trading in their electric vehicles for SUVs, as was noted earlier. All right, they publicly refuse to stand for a childhood cancer survivor, victims of violent crimes during President Trump's joint address. Their message has gone from, it's more than just anti-Trump now, it's anti-American.
But it always was. You can look at American history and say, okay, that terrible things took place, but we strive to become a better country. Symbols of the country they don't even like. Forget about the Tesla symbol or, the Make America Great Again hat. They don't even like symbols of America. It's offensive to, there are so many articles of regions of the West Coast that I'm not going to get into where the American flag was offensive to people. Okay? Again, in any country, in California to New York, working class people who work in a factory or, work in a city office building or what, working class people who strive every day, they don't despise Trump. The average American doesn't despise Trump. It's the wonderful college-educated, oftentimes wealthy, liberal Democrat who is a very highly educated, moral person. Oftentimes who won't go to Thanksgiving or disown friends and family because their friend or family voted Trump. We can't have that. Are you okay with what he's doing? What, saving the country and enforcing laws and protecting people? Yeah, pretty good. Anti-war, preventing never-ending wars, preventing nuclear conflict. Are you okay with what he's doing? Yeah, I'm okay. So is the rest of the country. Only you're not okay because you're told he's mean. That's why you don't drive Teslas anymore.
And everyone sees that. And the polling reflects it. The American people are not stupid. They understand what's happening here. We have a word of advice to our Democrat colleagues. If you want to pull yourselves out of the wilderness and the doldrums that you're in, get on board with the American people who support our common sense agenda. It is common sense to keep men out of women's sports. It is common sense to secure the border and deport dangerous illegal aliens, as you talked about earlier. It is common sense to make government more efficient and cut fraud, waste, and abuse, and do right by the taxpayer. We are not doing these things because they're Republican priorities. They are priorities because it's the right thing to do. And the American people want the right thing to be done. And the Democrats are opposing it. And they see it very clearly. Republicans in Congress enjoy record high levels of approval because we're engaging in what we understand to be simple truths, and we're delivering on it. We got a small majority, that's true. But this House GOP conference has stayed together and stayed laser focused on passing common sense legislation and executing the Trump agenda as quickly as possible. When we stay united, we do right by the people. We look forward to working with Leader Thune and our Senate counterparts to move that budget reconciliation bill. It will be the largest, most consequential piece of legislation in decades, maybe in one of the most in all of the history of Congress. We're excited to deliver that for the people, and we have no time to waste. We've got almost 80 million people that supported President Trump and House Republicans. We all had our largest totals ever. We're going to do what they asked us to do, and we are not going to keep them waiting.
So Democrats, if they don't have media, like this thing with the Signal, like the Signal group, was like, Clinton had 4 years of servers with top secret intel on them. But one Signal chat without any classified data is the end of the world. So everything they try, it's going to fail from here on out. They're like a supernova. They're like a celestial body that's imploding from the heat. Their energy that they have is so misused that the political party, instead of actually going positive or using their energy to promote what they want, they don't know what they want, but they know what they don't want. And what they don't want is whatever they're told not to want or not to like. So today it's Tesla. Tomorrow, who knows? It could be like, who knows? It could be a computer product from a billionaire who supports Trump. You better believe, though, like Bezos, you better believe that they're not going to, because Amazon, AOC now takes money from Amazon. Could you imagine if Jeff Bezos was like, oh, I love Trump? Oh, there would be zero boycotts because they all go on Amazon. They're all buying stuff on Amazon. Could you imagine? That would be the end of the artificial intelligence indoctrination of Democrats. That would be well, man, who knows? Then they'd say, go to Walmart, not Amazon. Then they find out Walmart, the family, backs Trump. Go to Target. And then they find out Target. They just gonna, Walgreens is better. They get each different chain that supports Trump or the billionaire of that chain. They're gonna just, find some way to get back at people they don't like.
Conservatives to try to impeach some of these judges, and is that appropriate? Is that a bridge too far?
Look, everything is on the table. Impeachment is an extraordinary measure. We're looking at all the alternatives that we have to address this problem. Activist judges are a serious threat to our system. It has increased in number. It has increased in intensity. If you look at the statistics that the White House shared, they looked at over the last 100 years, 67% of injunctions were issued against one president. His name is Donald J. Trump. And of those, I think the number was 92% of that number were by known partisan Democrat-appointed judges to the bench. This is not the way the system is supposed to work. So we're going to have hearings to highlight the abuses. I suspect that we may wind up questioning some of these judges themselves to have them defend their actions. And then we'll see about limiting the scope of federal injunctions. One judge should not be able to suspend and uphold everything that a president does on their agenda. I think the American people agree with that.
Are you concerned about Trump officials transmitting classified war plans on unsecured channels?
They weren't classified, but let's continue. I mean, according to President Trump's administration. But again, you had 4 years of top secret intelligence onto private servers and destruction of evidence and all that. I explained that in the prior segment.
Listen, the administration, as I understand, I just was with the president in the Oval Office just now. The administration is addressing what happened. Apparently, an inadvertent phone number made it onto that thread. They're going to track that down and make sure that it doesn't happen again. What you did see, though, I think, was top-level officials doing their job, doing it well, and executing on a plan with precision. That mission was a success. No one was jeopardized because of it. We're grateful for that, but they will certainly, I'm sure, make sure that doesn't happen.
But they're talking on signal, not in a skiff.
I'm not going to characterize what happened. Clearly, I think the administration has acknowledged it was a mistake, and they'll tighten up and make sure it doesn't happen again. I don't know what else you can say about that.
Should Mike Walton be disciplined?
No.
You got a long way to go on reconciliation. You sticking by the idea this is going to be done in 3 weeks?
I'm moving this as aggressively as possible.
Is that going to be done this week, then? That's the end of the work week.
Let's talk about your meeting tomorrow with Leader Thu.
The House and Senate are in the process of coordinating. We are one team. There is no daylight between us. I know the media is trying to portray this as some sort of big dispute. It's not. We have tremendous respect. I have tremendous respect for the senators over there, Republican senators, who are trying to do the same job that we are, and that is deliver on the America First agenda. The reconciliation process, that one big beautiful bill is the way that we'll do it.
Very much.
So John Radcliffe does a number right here, pretty good.
For holding this hearing, and thank you for being here. Mr. Director Radcliffe, it sounds to me like your testimony today and the Secretary and the DNI's testimony is that there was nothing wrong at all with the signal thread that you were on, that it didn't include any targeting information.
These are Democrats, by the way, who are just fine with private secret servers with top secret intelligence SAP intel on them, according to the Honorable James Comey.
In our battle sequence, that is your testimony. That's your testimony. And I'm a little staggered that is your view, Director Radcliffe. Does the CIA have any rules about handling of classified information? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you, Director Radcliffe. Do you agree, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said this morning when asked by members of the press what had happened, he said this morning in Hawaii that Atlantic Editor-in-Chief Jeff Goldberg is a, quote, deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of providing hoaxes time and time again. Do you share that evaluation, the Secretary of Defense's evaluation of Jeff Goldberg as a journalist?
Senator, I didn't see those comments. I don't know Jeff Goldberg.
So do you share that view of the Secretary of Defense?
Well, I don't have a view on.
Okay. Do you, assuming that he has that view, I'm curious about whether you are the CIA director. Okay, this has happened. We know it's happened. Did Jeff Goldberg somehow, did he create a hoax that allowed him to become part of this signal thread? Please answer the question. You don't insult the intelligence of the American people.
Clinton had servers for 4 years with top secret intelligence emailed onto her cell phones. And her cell phones were connected to servers running outside of the United States government, run by people without security clearances. And half of her first 3 months of emails, according to James Comey, you can watch the live stream testimony, the testimony on the live stream prior to this one. Her first 3 months of emails are missing. And still, they couldn't find intent. Then Comey wrote the Comey letter, and classified data was being forwarded to Anthony Weiner's computer. You probably couldn't touch that computer with like 1 million disinfectants, and if you did touch it, you'd have to wash your hands for 5 hours. That computer makes Hunter's laptop look like, the most wonderful thing on the planet. Most likely, possibly.
Did he invite himself to the signal thread?
I don't know how he was invited, but clearly he was added.
Clearly it was. Finish your sentence, please.
Clearly he was added to the signal group. Your question is,
you don't know that the president's national security advisor invited him to join the signal thread? Everybody in America knows that. Does the CIA director not know that?
I've seen conflicting reports about who added the reporter to the signal messaging group.
You think that it's perfectly appropriate that there was a reporter added, especially one that the Secretary of Defense says is deceitful, highly discredited?
The question is, how did they get his number? So was he working on a story, and did he reach out to one of these people? That's a question. See, if he reached out to one of the people for a story and then he accidentally got added, it's bad, it's embarrassing, it is a security breach, but it's like a grain of sand compared to Mount Everest of cybersecurity nightmares with Clinton's email servers, which the Honorable James Comey said potentially was hacked by the entire planet.
Credited a so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes over and over again. Is your testimony that it was appropriate that he was added?
It's The Atlantic. They run the same articles as the New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Mother Jones, The Nation. It's the same thing. That's why Democrats are imploding. That's why Republicans want everything. Trump. Trump. I was on his war plans. Trump. Democracy. This is the publication that said that Trump called fallen Americans losers because anonymous sources said so. TMZ is more reputable. Actually, TMZ is a lot more reputable than The Atlantic, which used to be like an amazing publication. Because TMZ actually doesn't, like, if you compare TMZ to modern political reporting, TMZ doesn't say, oh, there's an anonymous source generally. Not that I read TMZ, I'm just saying. A lot of times you'll see a story on TMZ, sometimes here and there, and it's actually more accurate than anything you'll read at The Atlantic. But, like, you're talking about publications that run stories on anonymous sources that say that Trump said something. It's the equivalent of, hey, Becky, I heard Becky said that you were a stupid fool. Wait, she said that? And then but here you can't even confront Becky. It's just, anonymous. Some person said, Trump said that he was going to sell the United States to Martians. And Elon Musk was part of it. And that's why he wanted to have a colony on Mars, said the anonymous source. And then it's reported as he said this, not reportedly according to anonymous sources. And then people, the clapping seals, of the wonderful, morally superior Democratic Party say, did you see what he said? Did you see what he said? How dare he say that? And it's like, there's zero evidence. And you just believe hoaxes and lies, and they run with it. But nobody cares what they think anymore. So nobody should ever have cared what they thought. But let's continue.
Added to this signal thread?
No, of course not. And
why did you not call?
Hold on, Senator.
You're
mischaracterizing my testimony.
Good. You answered the question. Let me ask you. When he was added to the thread, you're the CIA director. Why didn't you call out that he was present on the signal thread?
I don't know if you use signal messaging app.
I do. Not for classified information, not for targeting.
Well, neither do I, Senator. Neither do I, Senator.
Well, that's what your testimony is today.
It absolutely is not, Senator. Were you not listening at the beginning?
No.
When I said that I was using it as permitted, it is permissible to use.
I agree that's your testimony.
Yeah.
I agree that's your testimony. You asked me if I use it, and I said not for targeting, not for classified information.
And I said I don't either.
I also know Jeff Goldberg. I don't use it to communicate with him, but you thought it was appropriate. By the way, I think he's one of the more outstanding journalists in America.
Very outstanding, fantastic, wonderful. Anonymous sources that said Trump called fallen Americans, horrible things. When most veterans, most Gold Star families, I'm not a veteran, I'm just saying, most veterans love Trump. Most active duty love Trump. Not all, and God bless you. If you're a veteran and you dislike Trump, God bless you. Thank you for your service to this country, and it has nothing to do with, politics has nothing to do with the sacrifice and how, you defending the country. But most soldiers, American soldiers, either love or admire or like Trump. But they don't despise Trump the way the average Atlantic writer is a very good writer, very intelligent, very educated. Almost certainly they despise Trump. Like everyone at all these publications. There's not one supporter of Trump at The Atlantic. Why not? He won the popular vote. Not one supporter of Trump at the New York Times or Washington Post. Why? Why? You can't have one? You had one person at the Washington Post who was, they always have these Republicans. Oh, I'm a good Republican. I can't stand Trump. I can't stand Trump. Oh, the days where Chris Christie reigned. And Bush annihilated the Republicans and sent Americans off to never-ending military conflict. Oh, those good old days, oh, wonderful. Oh, the good Republicans who lost everything, always, to Democrats. Oh, we long for those. And never-Trumpers. Oh, they're such good people. And Bush had servers also in his administration.
But I'm shocked to find him on a thread that he's reading in the parking lot of a grocery store in Washington, D.C.
The senator has a point. It's embarrassing. It's bad. It is a security breach, but it's nothing compared to the Clinton email servers debacle, with 4 years of classified top secret intelligence transferred illegally onto servers. By the way, run by people without security clearances. We still don't know how Clinton's servers obtained classified data. Nobody asked that question in a nation of 350 million Americans, but okay. I guess it's not important.
And your testimony as the director of the CIA is that it's totally appropriate. No. Is it appropriate?
No,
that the president?
That is not what I.
Hegseth and Waltz should have simply had private servers and illegally transferred classified data onto them, and then forwarded all the classified data to Uma Abedin's then significant other, Weiner. They should have simply forwarded all their classified data to Anthony Weiner, like the Honorable James Comey said in his testimony, which you can watch this live stream prior to this one. If they had done that, it would have been much better than the, God forbid, the Signal chat, which, by the way, is bad. It is bad. It's not good. It's a security breach, but it's nothing compared to the servers.
Okay,
when did I use the word appropriate?
Well, go ahead, please.
Well, I didn't.
That everybody in America.
So clearly,
there's nothing to
Senator,
see here is what your testimony is.
No, I never said that.
This is just a normal day at the CIA where we chat about this kind of stuff over Signal. In fact, it's so normal that the last administration left it here for us. That's your testimony today.
That's your testimony.
No, that's
Senator.
not my testimony. That's what you said.
I didn't say any of those things that you just related, Senator.
I heard you say it. We'll let the American people decide. Let me ask you one final.
The way Democrats are going now, they're probably not going to win the midterms, but.
Point,
mischaracterized it. Well, are you going to give me a chance?
Is it appropriate? Did you know that the president's Middle East advisor was in Moscow on this thread while you were, as director of the CIA, participating in this thread? Were you aware of that? Are you aware of that today?
I believe Secretary Clinton traveled to these countries while she had her cell phone connected to private servers. I believe that happened.
I'm not aware of that
This
today.
sloppiness, this incompetence, this disrespect for our intelligence agencies and the personnel who work for them is entirely unacceptable. It's an embarrassment.
The Signals chat is an embarrassment. Secret servers for 4 years, funneling classified data eventually to, another person's laptop and being stored on unencrypted servers at one point, secret servers that we don't even know how classified data went to those servers, but, Anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe. Thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you. They're going to start defunding, well, he can defund it, or the Supreme Court eventually will limit the ability for these nationwide injunctions, because it harms Democrats also 8, 12, 16 years from now when they actually get back in power in Congress. I mean, in the presidency. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. Thank you for your support and your kind words. I will see you tomorrow.